Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of D&D CR Exposed. On today's episode we are looking at the Chardalyn dragon from Icewind Dale's Rime of the Frost Maiden. But before we get into that, let's talk about the business, and that is this tool here. If you like what I do here and would like to get the tool for yourself, go ahead and check the description for a link to my Ko-fi page, where you too can get this tool completely for free, or donate if you feel so inclined to, which would be greatly appreciated. Beyond that, you can also check out the custom classes, subclasses, and monsters that are in there, plus a bunch of other things, as well as supporting the channel through joining YouTube memberships or becoming a Ko-fi supporter for as little as $1 a month. Beyond that, you can also support the channel by liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing with your friends. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at the Chardalyn dragon and see just how bad the breath attacks are going to be. So first of all, we are looking at CR 11 here. So we got that going. This has got 17 AC. It is a huge construct. So this is spoiler alert here. Part of like the what was it? The deep, or it's been so long. The dwarves and whatever. You know what I'm talking about. If you've seen or heard this, I listened to the Adventure Maidens go through this, which was pretty fun. Although some stuff was skipped in the event. Or maybe they just didn't get to it. I don't know. It was very short, it seemed. Anyways, moving on, we have Strength of 24, Dex of 11, Con of 19, Intellect of 10, Wisdom 10, and 3 Charisma. From there, we take a look at the, I don't know what you call this, like the immunity sections or skills, not really skills, senses. Senses is probably the best thing here. So we'll go into the senses area. We have resistance to radiant, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. Again, this is going to technically bloat the hit points unintentionally, reducing the hit points and making the monster less likely to survive. We also have immunities to cold and poison. Since technically we only have 2 immunities and we have to look at them separately, we would go based off of resistances. Now, this makes sense, cold and poison, because it is a construct and it is in the frozen areas of Icewind Dale. So obviously it would be immune to these, but we're going to take a look at the resistances here and go ahead and add these in. We have technically 4 with radiant, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Although if you saw my video 2 weeks ago, you would see that I'm wondering now if that semicolon makes this 1 technically, but we'll see what happens in any event. More than likely it's not. So adding in the resistances, we're getting an extra 25% hit points, which is only bloating the creation of this monster ever so slightly by actually making it worse in theory. Just look at my video two weeks ago and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, moving on, we don't care about anything else now that we have these out of the way. And we will take a look at the traits area. We have immutable form, which doesn't matter. Magic resistance, which does. So we'll add that in for +2 effective AC bonus. And then siege monsters and unusual nature don't matter either. We're just worried about, fighting players. That's all we care about. So the rest of those don't matter for this instance. It'll matter at your table, of course. Now, for our dragon here, we have the standards. We have a multi-attack of Malevolent Presence, which is basically, well, it's supposed to be a fear, but now this is a charmed. And because it's not fear, we can actually take this into account. Although charming is, like you may have seen from, I think, last week's video or the week before, anything that takes the character out of the game is not fun. A la the lazy DM's discussions about this. So we want to try to avoid stuff that will take players out of the game and otherwise maybe delay them, or something happens, quote unquote happens, that drops the charm or the stun or whatever else it might be. So we do have that. I'm not going to take this into account because it is a defensive feature and I'm only curious and care about the offensive features. So we do have the attacks for claw, tail, and wings, which is going to be +11 on our 2-hit check, which is coming from our strength here, and that we're going to add in there. We then will start calculating our damages for claws of, was that 14? Since it's an even number, we only write in that. Our tail is going to be 18, and the wing is going to be 12. After that, we have a Radiant Breath, which is something we would expect. Coming from a construct, Radiant is interesting, but cool, okay. We have 120-foot line, 5 foot wide. Each creature in that line makes a dex save or takes 31 points of radiant damage, which we double because we're expecting at least 2 failed saves. And that is going to be 31.5 because it's an odd number of dice times 2 for a total of 63 points of damage. Now, let's go back up to the multi-attack because I didn't check the whole thing. Makes 3 attacks, 2 with its claws and 1 with its tail. If the dragon isn't flying, it can also make 1 attack with its wings. Okay, that's handy. A good reason for the dragon to actually come down onto the ground. So we'll have 2 multi-attacks here. We'll say, and we'll average out the difference here between the two in case the monster flies or isn't flying. So we do, what was it? 2 claws and 1 tail. So 14 times 2 plus the 18. Otherwise we have 14. Actually, I could just simply do this. That plus 12 for 56. And then we will average these 2 numbers here. For a total of 52 points of damage. Perfect. And that's pretty much it. So now we just throw our 52 into the average, or for our concentration, because that will be for every round of combat, which we're just going to be doing. Actually, no, we can't do the same thing, or can we? Excuse me, no, we're not. I had to double back on that, because I'm forgetting about the breath attack. So we would do the breath attack on, in theory, the first round of combat. We would obviously aim for as many targets as possible, and then from there we're going to go ahead and take our average multi-attack damage. And we're looking at CR 10. So we're already a little lower than we're expecting up here. For CR 11, probably because we don't have the charm in, this isn't working, or it's probably why we're not getting what we're expecting here. And I'd have to think here, what does the effect here of charm do? What is this? Incapacitation or what? Charms affects you. You experience the following effects. Can't harm the charmer. You can't attack the charmer or target the charmer with damaging abilities or magical effects. Social advantages. Okay. And that's coming from the new Player's Handbook 2024 edition. Let's see here. Since our Malevolent Presence is an AoE, and we can target a whole bunch of people, Charmed, like Charm Person, is a level 1 spell, but because Charm Person only affects 1 target, we would look at multiple targets here, and because Charm Person is a single target for level 1, that would be 11 effective damage per round, but with multiple targets, we switch to 14, which is the average for multi-target spells that deal damage. When we convert that, we end up with 35 effective hit points. We'll go ahead and add in the effective hit points over here in this little section, which in theory gives us, yeah, okay, so there you go. We do need the charmed area to bring this up. Technically, it's a 10.5, a CR 10.5, but we're rounding up. If we wanted this to be a proper CR 11, I would say we need to add in we want this to go up here. We're looking at 55, so we need just a little bit amount of extra damage. I would say add in a d4 to like the claws, or maybe just the tail. Something we're going to add in just a d4 of damage, and let's just do that to the tail. We'll add in a d4 for an average of 2.5, and that will bring us up to a CR 11, giving us a proper CR 11. But regardless, we have a CR 11 by rounding up. From there, let's go ahead and remove the resistances, because more than likely our players fighting a CR 11 monster do have magical equipment. I mean, at this level, I would hope so. At least a few of the players anyways. Regardless, we can bypass radiant damage and bypass magical attacks or non-magical attacks, and this brings our dragon down to a CR 10. Therefore, we're getting an easier time and bonus XP technically. So if we wanted our creature to be a little more dangerous, then we would want to increase the damage even more so and bring this up to probably a CR 13 maybe to get us to the CR 11. So we would want to add in a whole bunch of extra damage and make this dragon more deadly like we're expecting dragons to be. So there you go. Regardless, if your creature or if your players don't have can't bypass the resistances, then our monster's a CR 11. If they are bypassing resistances, then we have a CR 10. But in any event, you'll probably have a good time regardless. So thank you all so much for whoever, requested this monster, and it was great to actually look at this after having listened to the Venture Maidens play this and actually fight the Chardalyn dragon. It's kind of good to see what it was capable of. In any event, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.